Good morning, traders. Welcome to today's market review. This is Fred Razak at CMTrading. Today is December 17, 2021, and today is Friday morning. So looking at the highlights of the day, gold finally wakes up. But the question is, can it follow through? We're going to take a look at that in just a second. No major economic events scheduled for today. And as we look at the various markets, starting out with the Forex symbols, the British pound gains. But the question is it sustainable? Okay, both gold and the British pound look very similar. Now looking at the indices, the Dow Jones retraces while the NASDAQ falls sharply. A big sell-off yesterday in the NASDAQ. And looking at commodities, gold pretty much trading higher, as we mentioned, and oil unchanged. Now looking at the stocks, is Tesla going to break down? It looks like it. I'm going to take a look at that as well. And lastly, Bitcoin still just hanging around the upper 40K. Okay, 47, 48K, but no change there. So let's take a look at the markets and see what we can expect from today's trading. So here we go. We're looking at the GBP USD 4-hour chart. You can see we had a nice spike yesterday. Okay, a nice little, short covering spike. Call it a little bit of a rally if you call it that. But we did hit this resistance level of 133.61 and then retracing underneath it. Question is this a bull flag? Okay, that is going to be the question of the day, and the proof is going to be in the pudding whether or not we do turn around and going to see if we break above this 133.60. Possibly. Okay, so something to keep in mind later today. When I look at the euro, not much doing here. And if I look at the Aussie USD, also not much doing here. Okay, it did retrace back to its supportish level. Okay, and I did anticipate that it's going to bounce off of here. But if it does break this 71.65-ish level with some gusto, and then surely if it breaks the 30-day moving average, we're going to be back to that 70 level down here. Okay, so something to consider and keep this on your radar. Now looking at the commodities, gold, look at this. We're looking at a daily chart, but let's look at a 4-hour chart and give us perspective. We had this V formation the other day, okay, where we breached our support level on 177.66, but we came right back. Okay, when that happens, when we come right back with that kind of gusto, and then we break our moving average, that was your call, 177.78. That's really the proof in the pudding. And we did mention yesterday that if it broke above this 1790-ish level, excuse me, not 117, 1790-ish level, we would take it higher. Now we are at resistance at 1807. If we continue breaking it, our next resistance, 1828, and we haven't been there in a while. So that's something to consider, especially because the U.S. markets are selling off. Now looking at crude oil, doing nothing. 7174, just consistently trading sideways. No much activity there. However, let's take a look at the NASDAQ. Look at that. 16,447 down to 15,887. That's a huge move. 600 points, for something that's at 15,000. For the Dow Jones, that would be something like 1,200 points in one day. So that's a big move for the NASDAQ, okay? And those obviously reflecting the major technology stocks that are going down. We're going to take a look at that in just a second. But when we look at the Dow Jones, didn't retrace that much. 35,767, down about 400 points. That's a decent move, but not comparable to what's happening in the NASDAQ. Remember, now the NASDAQ was the one that took us higher this entire time. It was the Apple, the Amazon, the Microsoft. Okay, so let's take a look at them right now. Microsoft trading at 324. So not that bad. Okay, at the bottom of its range, but not breaking lower. Apple also at the bottom of a range, but not breaking lower. Okay, so what is happening is there are some big name stocks, okay, that are not really big companies that are selling off. Okay, so that's something to consider. If we look at Facebook also just trading sideways, that's not what's bringing down the market. However, looking at Tesla, look at it. We're looking at a 4-hour chart. We're back to where we started with, and that is pretty much filling that gap right there. Okay, so we are at this really crucial place. 926 is a very important place. If we do break 892, we could see it definitely correct itself down to the 700-ish level. I don't think it's going to happen. I think we're going to bounce off of here. So take that into consideration as we look at this later today. Now, lastly, looking at Bitcoin, not much doing here. Look at that. But it does look like it's setting itself up for a descending wedge, okay, which would be something according to that. Okay, so keep that in mind as this continues to trade. If it doesn't break lower this 46,000, it will take it higher. Okay, so that is something, and we still have 2 weeks to the end of the year, and we know historically that we generally rally into the end of the year. I'm not saying it's going to happen like that this year, but that's a general sentiment every time we go into the end of the year. So keep that in mind. This is Fred Razak. I want to wish everybody a great trading day. Thank you.